Welcome back to Northwest Digital News. I'm Kevin Hunter with Chris Bornstead and Kyle Torgerson in studio. It is Monday, February 19th, and President's Day. For people who didn't know some of the history behind President's Day, it was actually originally established in 1885. Did you guys know that?
I did not, but now I do.
1885. It was established in recognition of President George Washington. It's still actually officially known as Washington's birthday by the federal government, but we call it President's Day. So anyway, I guess there's several states that are having their own individual holidays honoring the birthdays of Washington or Abraham Lincoln or other figures. President's Day, though, is now popularly viewed as a day to celebrate all U.S. presidents, past and present. You know, one of the reasons why they moved it to the day that it's on or made it President's Day, because they wanted to make a 3-day weekend for workers around the country. Mostly like banks, post office, the government, you know.
Yeah, government workers.
Yeah, yeah.
I believe our government over here, I think they got Friday off, Saturday off, Sunday off, Monday off. They've rigged it over here in Cowlitz County to where they get when you
4
have
days.
4 days, yeah.
Yeah.
So and they get paid, I think, for all 4 days too.
That's, it's basically intended to be a 3-day.
Technically, we had a 3-day weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did too. So, you know, great day to be alive, isn't it? All right, so we're going to talk about some of the fun stuff going on in Olympic. It's been kind of, you know, this can lead to some dangerous things as well, but it's been kind of interesting and humorous to me a little bit that there's been as many crashes and funny little incidences going on in the Olympics. So we'll talk about that in a moment. There's a issue going on in the UK regarding KFC, which we'll visit about. And for those of you that are big tennis fans, pop up this picture of Roger Federer. 36 years old, goes back to #1, defeats, it was in Rotterdam. He defeats Grigor Dimitrov and wins his 97th singles tournament. Now, that puts him #2 on the list. He was already #2 by just 1 or 2. But he's #2 on the list now of all-time singles wins, and I believe it's Jimmy Connors is ahead of him at 109. So that's the #1 spot. And people are speculating whether or not Federer will go on to take over that record as well, because he holds all the other records. And they're like, well, is Federer going to end up being #1 in all-time wins? I actually think so. The level of tennis that he's playing right now, and physically the kind of shape that he's in, I think back when I was 36 and the way I felt, I was actually in peak physical condition, because that was right in the heydays of my military days, and could have easily played, could have seen myself playing tennis another 5 years, maybe even 10 years. I mean, I look at how, you know, the good physical shape Federer's in and how well he's playing. I think he's going to run past Jimmy Connors' record too. So I'll predict that he's going to be #1 on the all-time singles tournament wins as well.
Now, didn't he break the record for being the oldest?
He is the oldest. Yeah, he is officially the oldest ever to be at #1 in men's tennis. So great job. And, you know, Dimitrov apparently had some flu or something like that going on, and he's capable of playing some very good tennis, but that was not even did you guys see it?
No, I did not.
Nah, I'm not a tennis fan.
You're not a tennis fan?
No, I've never been really.
Tennis is good for you, Chris.
Yeah, I never watched it.
Yeah. Well, I like to play tennis. I like to follow the tennis pros. Federer has always been one of my favorite players. He's actually a total class act as an athlete from beginning to end. And a great role model for people out there in terms of how people in the spotlight ought to behave. Federer does a fantastic job. So let's show some of the video footage out of the Olympics. There's some really interesting things have happened. Some bobsled crashes. The more interesting stuff, though, is somebody dropping a handheld fan onto the track, and then we have some footage here of one of the, I don't know, was this a bobsled or a luge?
Oops.
Yeah, let's show this competitor here running into a broom on the track that a worker, apparently was in there sweeping, cleaning, or whatever, and then all of a sudden realizes, hey, I'm in the wrong place, jumps out, leaves the broom behind. Take a look at what happens.
Now, there's I don't know how to explain this.
It's snowing.
And
Yay.
you see the groove, just pull it to the left hand.
Here's the broom.
Side here and bam.
Like, how does that happen? Like, what's the
possible moment? Wow.
That's really, really bad.
I think she actually ends up doing, posting a pretty good time out of this as well. But
Does she get to redo a run, or is that?
yeah, of course. Whenever you run into any kind of foreign object, you get to redo it. But how the heck do you run into a broom?
And that wasn't 2015. That wasn't from the 2018 ones. Just want to point that out there.
Yeah.
So,
And then there was another one just popped up recently with the Olympics, was somebody running over somebody's fan. They dropped onto the track too. So kind of interesting, funny stuff that happens.
When you say fan, do you mean like
I'm talking about a handheld fan.
it's
Somebody,
snowing?
yeah,
It's snowing. What do they need a fan
I
for?
don't know.
it's too hot. Maybe they have heaters.
Maybe, yeah,
Or maybe we have a conspiracy.
maybe there's something underhanded going on here.
Get your tinfoil hats out, boys. Let's break this down.
Well, speaking of tinfoil and something underhanded going on, they don't have any chicken in the UK. And
See, I thought the story was about here in the United States, which was going to make a lot more sense to me. But this right here, I mean,
there's the interesting part about it, or the funny part is that they closed 600 different stores in the UK because I guess KFC put together a new contract with DHL to deliver the chicken, and the chicken didn't show up.
so this is KFC.
Yeah.
Why did I think it was Popeyes?
Well, there's also a story out there about Popeyes. Do you have the story for Popeyes up by any chance? You can find that quick enough.
I could.
There's
Either
actually
way,
a
there's
very
some
comical
issues
story.
with chicken.
Yeah, there's issues going on with chicken. One here had to do with Popeyes, and Kyle's looking for it here to bring on the screen.
I'm telling you, don't run out of chicken. I mean, this is a serious issue.
A big deal to run out of chicken.
There's literally no excuse for running out of chicken.
Okay,
When was
Popeyes.
this? Do we know?
Popeyes became a victim of its
Do
own
we know when this
advertising
happened?
today.
No.
So many customers lined up for a big special. Some locations, including one in Penfield and the city, ran out of chicken. Tonight, customers were clucking their disapproval.
Clucking.
Customers at the drive-thru heard this recorded message.
Sorry for the inconvenience, but we are all out of chicken and we are closed for the rest of the day. Thank you and have a blessed day.
If you're
One
out
woman
of,
yelled
why
back at
even
the
answer the
machine.
thing if you're
People
closed?
have kids that they trying to feed for the special, and you mean to tell me that we can't feed our kids? Because y'all didn't order enough chicken. Y'all knew y'all was
Oh, yeah.
almost
Use the
2 months
kids.
ago. And that's wrong.
I know which
But
political
no
party
one
she
was
belongs
listening.
to.
The Popeyes on Lake Avenue was closed by dinner time.
Are you kidding me?
I think that's bad because I'm sure hungry.
No chicken. No chicken? They just out of chicken.
I said I'm calling customer service now to see where there's another Popeyes at.
Yeah, they seem to be out of chicken today, so I'll just pick up a pizza. It's no big deal.
Other locations ran out of chicken too. The $4.99 special too good to pass up.
I just left Penfield.
All right, that's enough.
Popeyes. They were
All
out of
right.
chicken there, so
So this is the one that was here in the U.S., and then you have this one that was in.
They're running out of chicken all over the place, apparently.
No chicken.
Now Popeyes, they ran out because they had a new special out that everyone was like, I guess it was super cheap, and
8 pieces for $4.
Oh man.
so they ran out of chicken because it was really cheap.
$4.
Now KFC, they ran out because they had a few hiccups. A few of them, so it's not just one hiccup. They had a few hiccups, like 600 hiccups with chicken.
That's a lot of hiccups. So they had KFC in the UK had 600 locations closed, and then they had several others that were open only part of the day or with a partial menu. You know what's funny is I've actually seen fast food places. I remember somebody went through the drive-through in Burger King right here in Longview recently, and the person says, "We're all out of beef." It's like, should that say Chicken King up there or what?
Yeah, how do you run out of hamburgers at a hamburger joint? That's not good.
Remember, I think it was like last year they had Szechuan sauce. They brought that back for Rick and Morty fans.
Yeah.
Remember the chaos for that?
Where?
McDonald's brought back Szechuan sauce because Rick and Morty, they for one of the episodes, Rick, the scientist grandpa, was talking about how he loves Szechuan sauce, and it's all about Szechuan sauce.
Yeah, that was pretty good sauce.
Some people disagree, some people agree. But anyways, all these Rick and Morty fans literally flocked to McDonald's, some of them like setting up camp like it's a new iPhone, and it ran out super fast. Like it was within like the first 30 orders, it was like pretty much gone. So there was outrage between all the Rick and Morty fans.
I really understand these people's pains because, I'm still angry over, and this happened like years ago, but our local taco time, you guys remember when when George W. Bush was president and the cost of tomatoes skyrocketed? I'm still angry over the fact that Longview Taco Time actually put a note on the door saying that they would not be putting tomatoes on their tacos because the prices of tomatoes were just too high. They only put one little tiny slice of tomato on there. I mean, come on. So I can understand
I don't eat
these
tomatoes,
people.
So I wouldn't know.
How could you not eat tomatoes?
I'm not a big fan of tomatoes either.
Actually, I like the flavor of tomatoes, and I would eat them, but they contain something called oxalic acid. And if you have arthritis, you do not want to eat foods rich in oxalic acid because they cause inflammation and joint pain.
Thank goodness I don't have joint pain, and I can still eat the tomatoes.
You want to stay away from oxalic acid, and look at tomato; it's loaded with it. So that's the only reason. Just a health choice, nothing else.
So I definitely understand these guys' pain. You can't have a taco without a tomato, though. I mean, that was just. Don't tell Junior I said that.
So to talk about all this chicken, have you seen the video of this guy? He's in the mountains, and pretty much he blew a whistle, and he's a chicken farmer. These are completely free ranged, and he blew a whistle, and all these chickens literally flocked in. I'll show you the video.
Yeah, you got to play the video. No, you can't just.
It must be feeding time for the birds. Wait a minute, they're flying.
When a farmer has 100 chickens to feed,
they literally just flock in. They just literally fly right in. It has like a little runway. It's kind of funny.
For some reason, I didn't think chickens could fly.
Now you see, this guy should have been blowing his whistle outside of Popeyes.
Yeah, there you go.
Look at all of them.
This
See,
just
we're
brings up
having
a new phrase. You can kill 100 chickens with one whistle.
Somebody get a hold of Popeyes because we aren't having any problems finding chickens.
Yeah, they just need this guy there. Blow the whistle and the chickens will show up. This is a bad segue, but speaking of blowing the whistle, why don't you share with people what you learned about exchange recovery, Kyle?
What a really good transition.
Yeah, I know. That's what I say. It's a great transition.
Okay.
Tell us about exchange recovery.
Yeah, let me get...
This is actually a faith-based drug rehab type effort that's going on. And share that because, it's interesting to me, Kyle, there's been no conversation about this at all in our local community, and with things with methadone and everything else going on, and these guys actually having a presence in this community, you would have thought somewhere along the line there'd been some conversation about them.
Well, Kevin, it's clean and sober, and they only want to give money to people who are active drug users because that's where all the grant money is at right now.
But we know that whether somebody was an alcoholic or an active drug user or whatever, but any kind of substance abuse, the only way you help someone is they first have to want to be helped. And that first step of wanting to be helped is getting clean and sober.
Well, there's, a lot of people in our area that thinks that they can just force this on them. And
you can't force it on anyone.
Well, they seem to think that it works, but
people are headstrong.
Regardless of what the majority of the community wants, they don't care. They just trek forward and they they keep enabling these people. And, you know, ultimately, when you enable them, you are, you know, responsible for what happens to them if you are helping enable them.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Well, let's share what's going on with Exchange Recovery, or just a little blurb on them. And we are going to have them in studio sometime down the road to talk to them. Yes, we will.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just to dip our toes in the water, the directors is Bill Smith and Vicky Smith. They are married, of course, and they run this program called Exchange Recovery. Now, Exchange Recovery is completely different than like any other like recovery base, because some of it is very clinical, so it's in a hospital or it's in a place like that. But this one, they actually have legit homes. There's a women's lodge, and they keep men and women separated, and they actually give them a home to stay in. And it's like they give them clothes, like the first night they get pajamas, and they treat them like human beings. And there's a trust system, and the first month you have to have chaperones and all that, but after that you start getting more and more trusted. And they help you get a job. They help you get your life back. And it's like a year-long program. Now, I went to one of the, it's like get-togethers, is basically people in the program and their family members would come in, and they had food. It was Thai food. It's pretty good. And they come down and they talk about what the program is. And there's like this really cool Christian band. It was the drummer. It was real good. I love that. But he talked about what's going on, and then they had a part where they asked how, like, stand up if you're a week clean, or stand up if you're 60-day clean, stand up if you're a month to 6 months to years to 2 years.
I thought you were saying there initially that they were asking people to stand up if they were a weakling.
No, week clean.
A week clean. Okay.
Yeah.
So not a weakling, but a week. No.
Week
clean.
as in time frame, clean as in
when you said the 30
dirty.
days clean, then I realized that must have been weak. But a week clean.
Week is time.
All right.
Clean.
All you weaklings, stand up.
But it was just seeing all these people stand up and seeing the family members like look at them and see like they're back in our lives and they're just happy. It's very heartwarming. There's these two guys, they came together and they became best friends, and they're 6 years clean. And both of them, I believe, or one of them, are actually going to help run the program, because they have 8 houses. So they have 8 places, basically 4 female, 4 male. And so that's so many people they help out. And they're actually getting a 9th one right now. So we'll be talking about that when Bill Smith,
and Vicky,
when they come out, come on the show. They're going to talk about what they need, and
pop their website up on the link if you would. It's driveoutaddiction.com. I just pulled it up here on my own screen. Driveoutaddiction.com, and it's Bill and Vicky Smith. We're going to invite them in to come talk about what they're doing to help people get clean and sober who want to make a life change, who might currently be an alcoholic or addicted to drugs, whatever it might be.
I just want to show like the homes. Also, this right here, this video is like before and after. Like, just look at how white and just lifeless they are, and then afterwards, just look.
That's amazing.
No free taxpayer method.
No, I'm pretty sure it's just like privately owned. It's faith-based living. It's like, it's helped so many people. There's one guy that has been 5 years clean, and he pretty had a rough start. And also, these are the houses they have. So this is a women's lodge up top, and then it's just, they're actually pretty cool homes, and they actually treat them like human beings. There's this one guy, he was, I believe, 6 years clean, and when he first got into the program, he had to wait a week, and he relapsed, and he called immediately saying, "Hey, I need to get there. I don't want to relapse again, please." And they're like, "Okay, our doors are open, please come down." So I believe he drove from Tacoma with his wife or girlfriend at the time in a car with no brakes all the way down to Vancouver, and ever since then he's been clean.
How was he able to stop?
I don't know. Maybe like an emergency brake?
Just drag the e-brake. He was able to...
Has like a...
Oh, take your foot off the gas, Kevin. Jeez.
Well, he told me the guy didn't have any brakes. So I was like, okay, how was he able to stop?
But I just think that's so cool, you know? Yeah.
a great story. So
we do have these similar houses around in our area. We do have some of these type of houses. You know, there's one being built up, you know, by the Butler Acres area right now. They're on the corner. They'll open up, but they aren't like this. And to answer your question, Kevin, if I had to guess, there's probably many reasons why you don't hear about these folks here from the people.
I'm wondering why.
Well, they're a faith-based organization that requires sobriety. That is probably
two strikes against them.
Two strikes against them.
Before you get into the program, you have to actually have it not in your system. That is one of the requirements.
So these you know, what we have going on in our area is part of it's not it's a Band-Aid. It's not.
You can't force an addict into treatment.
You can tell that these people are going for the money that comes with helping these people, not actually helping them. And that's where it is. I mean, give you a perfect example. We had a cold weather shelter that opened up a couple of weeks ago. These people are supposed to open these shelters out of the kindness of their heart. Now that they've opened up this shelter, you now have another community member going out there and treating this like it was some kind of union event, saying, well, these guys deserve to get paid for their labor. And they're going to the city and the county saying, hey, these guys were nice enough to open up this shelter. You need to give them money. Well, no, again, they open it up out of the goodness of their heart. These guys aren't union members. We don't need to go out and lobby like they're the union. They did it because they wanted to do it, because they wanted to help the community. That doesn't mean that we have to reimburse them with government money for doing it. So this program here sounds like it uses more private dollars, maybe some government funding. But this is why, Kevin, is because they can't manipulate the money. They don't want these people even talking about God when it comes to recovery, because, you know, God is offensive to them. And so those are probably two reasons why you don't hear the local people who are just opening up these random places, these flop houses for active drug users to come into. And that's the difference. That's why they aren't talking about them and why they probably won't endorse them.
Well, we'll have them in studio and allow our viewing audiences and listening audiences to determine for themselves what they think about Exchange Recovery, and we'll give Bill and Vicki Smith an opportunity to share more about the program. But my first question in learning about it and just researching about it a little bit, I was like, wow, they're actually helping people in this area. And curiously enough, with all the conversation that's gone on over the last few years in this area around drug addiction and everything else, I've not heard one single person mention Exchange Recovery.
Just to kind of get you excited for when they come in, just how powerful this program is, and just how cool it is and how impactful. They had 2 interviews, because you have to be interviewed to see if you want to be in the program. So they had Vicki. She ran the interviews, and they had 2 that night, and I watched them go in. And then when they came back out, they were just crying, and the family were crying because they got in. It was just the family. They were together. There was like 6 family members all together for this one person. And it was just so powerful. You know, family is really good for addicts and all that, you know? So it's pretty cool.
Well, I'm looking forward to talking to Bill and Vicki, and interested in hearing more about their program and how we can make others in this area aware of what they're doing too. And I would encourage the political leadership in this area to do a little research on Exchange Recovery. And let's hear some people talk about what Bill and Vicki Smith are doing here with regard to helping addicts and alcoholics. I think it's, at least what I'm seeing here on the surface, sounds like a good thing. I definitely want to know more. On a different subject, talking about even faith-based things, have you guys heard about the American pastor Andrew Brunson that's been held hostage in Turkey?
I have not.
Have you heard about him, Kyle?
I have not.
It's Brunson. Andrew Brunson's been held hostage in Turkey. Actually, he's regarded as an American. He's been in that region for several years, though, and he was called down to come and talk to the authorities. Apparently, they had some issue they wanted to talk to him about, and they decided to throw him in prison. And he's been caught in this crackdown that they've been doing on so-called terrorist units and whatever else. So this American pastor, Andrew Brunson, has been held hostage in Turkey. And maybe President Trump's going to get involved here to help get this guy freed up. Also, in other kind of miscellaneous news, here this past year, this is in the car business. Automakers always come up with these vehicles and vehicle names that just never ever cut the mustard. So maybe a couple names that you recognize here that disappeared in 2016 were the Buick Verano. Chris is like, huh?
What?
What's that?
Oh no, I'm thinking ahead to something I want to say next, but I'm listening.
Yeah, the
to
Buick
you.
Verano disappeared in 2016, as did the Chevy SS, the Chrysler 200. Do you guys remember the Chrysler 200 when it came out? When it hit the lots, I'm thinking 2012, somewhere in there. That car was just amazing that they came out of. You're aware of some of the other vehicles the sedans that Chrysler's had beforehand. And I think this Chrysler 200 was intended to be a vehicle to kind of fill that niche that was emptied out by a bunch of the other cars that were bombs, like the Dodge Neon.
You be careful there, Kevin Hunter. I had several friends that had those.
Yeah, how many of them blew up with about 90,000 miles on them?
They drove those cars as long as they could. I'll tell you that right now.
Till about 90,000 miles when they blew up. I was actually leaving the Minnesota State Fair, and next to us is this Dodge Neon, red, cute little car. This young girl's driving it. We're heading up the road, and I was just telling my wife, I said, you know how many of those cars blew up? I mean, as nice as they might look and practical, you know how many of those cars actually blew up out on the road? And I'm not kidding you. Stephanie would remember this clearly. We're driving along, and all of a sudden there's like, bang! Right now. Well, I'm like, what the heck was that? And this car is like...
Those and Geostorms were the two popular cars when I was in high school for girls to drive.
And the traffic was so heavy we couldn't even get over to try to help this poor girl get her. But her car blew up right on the road while we're talking about it. I was just like, oh my gosh. Anyways, Chrysler was trying to come up with some kind of cool-looking sedan with a new motor in it. Everything else, the Chrysler 200, it had a short life.
But
lasted 4 years on the market.
But did it look cool?
It looked cool.
Then they did it.
Yeah, it did.
Right, yeah.
Dodge Viper also disappeared in 2016. That was a cool-looking vehicle.
Yeah, it was out of everybody's price range there.
That's part of the problem. And Jeep Patriot also ended in 2016. So you know what cars went away in 2017? Anybody know?
No.
Am I the only one who knows
Yes.
this?
Yep.
The Hyundai Azera disappeared. The Infiniti QX70, the Lexus CT, Mercedes lost their B-Class electric drive car. Mitsubishi got rid of two vehicles, the i-MiEV and the Lancer. Also, Nissan Quest disappeared. There's a car called Smart for Two went away, and Volkswagen got rid of the CC and the Touareg. That is, you know, that Volkswagen Touareg, that name of a model of vehicle, there was the all-time dumbest names for cars list that was put together, and that Touareg was one of the vehicles that showed up on there. Anyway, nobody has to complain about them anymore. They're gone. So, Chris, you had something else you wanted to mention.
This is a plea to ABC. Dear ABC, please replace Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg with Diamond and Silk. I honestly believe that Diamond and Silk reflect the American people more than Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg. So ABC, if you're listening, which I'm pretty sure you are, because we're pretty awesome here, but please replace those two people with Diamond and Silk, and I think you'll see your ratings, and I think you'll see your approval go up a lot.
The two people that Chris is referring to, if you haven't seen them, they're a couple of young black ladies who are on YouTube, have their own channel called Diamond and Silk.
I watched them all weekend long.
Their sense of humor is pretty incredible. They are very, very funny. They have been featured on actually a number of different networks, and bring down a clip of Diamond and Silk. Throw it on the page there so people can
maybe
see
not
who
that
they
one.
are.
Maybe not those ones. There we go. Hey, there we go. Yeah, let's do that. A realist. I'm a realist, so let's go there. I like keeping it real.
Yeah, we don't have to play that, but here they are on Fox News. Some Dems to snub State of the Union due to Trump, and they have Diamond and Silk. Listen to what these two black ladies have to say.
3, Earl Blumenauer from the state of Oregon says
they do live streams quite a bit. They've been getting until we get to the clip, but they've been getting actually nerfed by Facebook. Facebook is actually taking their streams and cutting them down.
Here they are.
Diamond and Silk, welcome to Fox and Friends.
Rachel's been looking forward to this all morning.
I've been waiting for you from the
I love
beginning
these
of the
ladies.
show. I love you, ladies. So what
She
do you
loves
make of
them
all
too.
that?
Okay, so I want to say this to those 3 lawmakers. You know, Trump is not a racist. He's a realist. And the only color he sees is green, and he wants you to have some of it.
That's right.
And what I don't understand about these lawmakers is why are they pushing this narrative? You know, there's an old saying, what you think you see in others is what's in you.
That's right.
Maybe they need to get the racism out of their own hearts towards this president so that we can move this country forward.
That's right.
I want black people to also look at these 2 lawmakers that's black. Name one piece of legislation that they pushed within the last year to help inner and urban cities, to help benefit black communities. None. Our eyes are open. People need to wake up. These are the people that we need to vote out.
And the sad thing is the same black people that's talking about racism this and racism that, black people are racist towards their own race. Just look at the derogatory names that they call Diamond and Silk, Coons and Uncle Tom. And we have proof. This is not alleged. You can go to Diamond and Silk Wall of Shame and see all of the derogatory and racist remarks that black people make against us, 2 black women. So before you start saying something about the white man being racist, check your own self. Take a look in the mirror and look at your own black race being racist towards each other.
Well, if you look at, it's a great point. If you look at black unemployment at an all-time low right now, would there ever come a point where members of the Congressional Black Caucus or other black leaders would recognize that and say, maybe something's working and we should do more of that?
Well, see, they don't want to recognize it because they're part of the problem. These groups are part of the problem and keep black people suppressed. That's why I always say out loud, listen, go past these groups. Take your message directly to the people and forget about these groups and organizations that's working for their own greed and not the need of the people.
And the only way that we'll solve this is if we get them out of the way and just take care of this issue ourselves.
Keeping people stuck in the pains of their ancestors. It's time for black people to wake up and let's press forward and stop staying stuck in the past.
Well, that's some of the best communications advice that the White House could get. Skip the groups that purport to speak for minorities. Go right to the people.
All right, let's cut it there.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, I think ABC would do better if they would replace those 2 ladies and put them in their place.
Yeah, that gives you some flavor of who Diamond and Silk are. And the interesting thing is go and look on YouTube, and there's not just them. There's this JT West. There's Brandon Tatum. There's a number of black commentators who have jumped on YouTube, started their own channels, and are broadcasting. These are just Candace Owens. We talked about her here recently on the show. There's a number of them, and they're speaking out for themselves and for their own communities. And I absolutely love to see them doing that, because that's the way you fix the problem. There was another thing that I want to mention too, is that Denzel Washington directed and starred in the movie Fences, and he was, I believe, he had to have been in Washington D.C. somewhere. He was actually previewing or promoting the movie, and a white journalist came up to him and asked him about racism, and you know, did he believe that, you know, racism was the issue, and how do you fix this problem with racism? And Denzel Washington said something very profound. He said, "You don't legislate love to each other. You don't do that with laws. You don't create all of that." And he said, he tells the reporter, he says, "Look at me." He goes, "You're white or whatever you are. I'm black or whatever I am. And we're sitting here have dialogue and conversation with each other." He goes, "That's how you address racism. We get to know each other. We get to understand each other. We show each other respect." He goes, "Racism is something that is addressed on a one-on-one basis by people who just show basic respect for each other. He goes, it doesn't happen because Washington, D.C. or whoever creates some kind of law around it. So love to hear those kinds of very honest, frank conversations, because that's where it comes from, and that's how things get started moving in the right direction. And I love to hear the number of people from the Black community that are jumping on YouTube and using a broadcast platform just like we are to share their own views. And I'm just very pleased to hear what's coming out of their mouths, because very intelligent, very thoughtful, very well researched. They know their stuff. And this Diamond and Silk pair, they're not only funny because they have a great sense of humor, but they hit the nail right on the head on a whole number of subjects.
They don't mess around. They keep it real. They tell the truth. They don't sugarcoat it to anybody.
Yeah.
And you know, it's amazing. And there's something else I wanted to address too. You know, I don't know if we're ever going to talk about the shooting or not, but I keep seeing online comments of people saying that we need to end the violence, that we have to stop the violence, that our legislators, they have to do something to keep us safe. Listen, no matter what, violence will always be a part of human nature. Mm-hmm. It's in our nature. Mm-hmm. We are violent. I saw somebody on a comment saying, well, if we just teach love and acceptance and all this stuff for 2 years, that all the violence in the world will be gone. That's just not true. And quit telling kids that, because no matter what, there's going to be a level of violence in the world. And no matter what the weapon is, it doesn't matter. It mm-hmm. doesn't matter. We will not stop violence. We won't end domestic violence. We won't end it. Mm-hmm. What we can do is we can minimize it and help prevent as much of it as we can. But this idea that we're going to completely stop violence altogether, you guys are causing more problems than you are, because that's just not a road that's realistic.
You can't do the ostrich, bury your head in the sand and think that,
or think that you're going to end the violence. It's just not going to happen. No matter what, as long as somebody has something that you want, or somebody has, and something
taking the guns away from the good guys will never. You know,
it's not going to happen.
Somebody here locally, maybe it was Patrick Ryan or whoever, had put a post up. He said 40 years ago, you'd go to the local school and there were shotguns in all the windows of the trucks out in the school.
That's
and no
real
school
common around here. When I was still in high school here in the early 90s, that's when they started passing the laws like you have to keep your gun out of the back window. It went from you can't have it in your back window anymore to you have to keep it in a case behind your seat. Mm-hmm. So, you know, having guns at school, I mean, there was a kid that brought a gun to junior high school, and I won't use his name, and everybody knows who it was that knows me and went to school with me. We all know who it was. I don't have to say the name. The guy just brought a gun to school. He wasn't going to use it on anybody. He wasn't going to shoot anybody with it, but boy, let me tell you, that was, he did get in some trouble.
Was this recently?
No, this is like when I was.
He said when he went to school.
Junior high school. When I was in junior high school, 7th grade, Cal Weeman. There. That's probably more information that everybody needs to know.
That was when the Earth was still cooling. When
that's when it was still flat. You know, everybody thought it was still flat. But anyway, we won't end the violence, you guys. It just won't. And for you to go out there and build hope that we can end violence in the younger people, that's just not a realistic goal, and you got to quit. That's doing more damage.
You think of all the violent tyrants and dictators around the world that have dragged their people and their countries into war. There wasn't a single time where somebody could go over and hold your hand up and say, or come under the white flag and going, I'm peacefully approaching, you know, please stop whatever it is you're doing. The only thing that stopped those people was somebody with a bigger force, a bigger gun, putting them where they belonged.
Right.
And when you look at our schools, just in society in general, it's you think about how willing and how accepting people are of having, you know, armed guards and everything else at a financial institution, and people driving around these money trucks, armed guards on them to prevent people from stealing money. Isn't the life of your child more important than the dollar that's sitting in your bank in your account at your bank? Why not have people that are armed protecting the kids wherever they may be? I can tell you that my kids have an armed guard wherever they go.
Well, our state passed a law making it illegal to take guns onto school property, so that, I imagine, you know, goes for the teachers too. to pass that kind of a law here in our state, we would pretty much have to replace, you know, the House, the Senate, and our governor for anything like that to happen, and our AG, you know, who recently just tweeted out that anybody
read the tweet because
I can't take it. I have to find it. I have to find it.
If you can find it quickly, I want you to read this tweet.
It's just the most amazing thing I've ever read before. I can sum it up. He basically stated that in the state of Washington, anybody over the age of 18 can walk into a Cabela's and walk out with an assault rifle without showing
within minutes.
Within minutes, without showing any. You know, I mean, let me see if I find it. It's like, let's see here.
So what you're saying? He is basically saying fake news. Would you say?
Oh, it was just, you know,
that is completely pointless too.
It was just not. It was just, you know. It just wasn't true. I don't know why I can't find it now. Probably because I'm on the hook and it's I should have left it open on Facebook. Maybe that's where I need to find it.
Yeah. Anyway, I saw the tweet, read it as well, and it was just, yeah, it's garbage. And to have somebody in law enforcement, it's right here. I found it, Chris.
Did you find it?
He says, fact. It should say fake, but it says fact. In Washington, an 18-year-old can walk into a Cabela's and walk out minutes later with an AR-15. No enhanced background check, no waiting period. Mr. Bob Ferguson, 2 letters, BS. That is fake news.
I can't take it.
You can't walk into a Cabela's.
No, you can't go anywhere in the state and walk out with a rifle within minutes. You have to go through a NICS background check before you can actually leave the store with the rifle. Mm-hmm. This is our main law enforcement guy in the state of Washington, who probably hopes to replace Jay Inslee, who thinks he's going to be president. You know, but these guys, I mean, they've lost their minds when it comes to, that was just completely unfactual. And, you know, of course, what can you do about it?
And you know, I'm a person that doesn't just choose to either believe or disbelieve somebody because of whatever their political alliances are. And I'm really disappointed to see somebody who holds the title Attorney General make a statement like this, because this is categorically false.
Just
completely false. You cannot, in Washington, be 18 years old and walk into a Cabela's and walk out minutes later with an AR-15. No enhanced background check, no waiting period. False.
Right.
All right.
One last thing. I have all kinds of little things, you know. So, just so you guys know, Fiber Federal Credit Union has put out a post over the last day or so about a new scam that's coming on. I've actually received this text myself, and I was like, what is this? Or an email. But if you get a text or a card number saying read card number 4147 with a bunch of X's, please contact us 24/7 at 360-560-4748. That's a scam. And if we had more time, you better believe that Kevin and I would be calling this number right now and, you know, doing that live like we did the IRS scammers.
Find the number and we'll put it on the next show.
360. Kyle.
Yeah, I'll find that.
Kyle.
Okay, what is it?
360-560-4748.
4748.
And if that number's still good, you know, on our next show, we could have some fun. I love these scammers. They're so much fun to try to, you know.
All right. Well, we'll get the number up on the stream for people who want to find it. Call the scammers, harass them. We'll do it here on Northwest Digital News as well, and have a little fun with them.
Tie up their phone lines so they can't take any calls, you guys.
Yes.
That's the best way to handle these guys. Just keep calling them back, saying, you don't understand. You don't own this card number. And then tell them it was your card, and that you'll then start giving them fake card numbers and saying, I don't understand why it won't go through. I have like $13,000 in the bank. You guys should be able to take out what you need. Anyway, okay.
All right, that's going to wrap up our show here on Northwest Digital News. Hey, real quickly, did you give the weather report before we started, Kyle?
No, I actually...
Do that before we go out, would you please?
Okay. So, yesterday it snowed a bit, and then it rained, and then it snowed a bit. But this week it's going to be pretty much doing exactly the same thing. It's going to be in the 40s. It's just pretty much going to be going between 41 and 43 degrees all week. It will be sunny Thursday, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday will be rain and with a chance of snow.
I just want the snow.
Rain with a chance of snow the rain on coming towards the weekend, Sunday and Monday.
Just want
My wife was actually hoping for a little glimmer break in the clouds to go out to the beach, take the girlies out there. They love playing in the sand. I was like, I don't think there's going to be any dry sand on the beach for a while. So I looked up the weather out on Long Beach as well, and for the next 20 days, it pretty much shows rain.
Fantastic.
Yes. All right, that's going to do it here on Northwest Digital News. I'm Kevin Hunter, Chris Bornstead, Kyle Torgerson. Until next time.